horror time! This is not an official Lovecraft story, even though it may sound familiar to some of you. It's an excerpt from the writer's letter to his friend Donald Wandre from November 24th, 1927, in which he described one of his dreams, or rather, a nightmare. Profits from all DLCs are donated to humanitarian aid organizations. Click for more information. Thank you for your support.
My dreams occasionally approached the fantastical in character, though falling somewhat short of coherence. One scene is especially stamped upon my recollection. That of a dank, fetid, reed-choked marsh under a gray autumn sky.
Oh, and then of course, during the game, you encounter symbols. Make sure you zoom in so you can see the symbol, click it, otherwise you're gonna miss some fun trivia. Nope, that's to continue. Nope. Dreams and letters. In letters to his friend, Donald Wandre, Lovecraft described two of his dreams. After the writer's death, they were sold to the publisher of the Scienti Snaps Bizarre magazine and published in the form of short stories. The first one, titled The Very Old Folk, tells the story of one of the provinces of the Roman Republic and the mysterious mountain inhabitants performing terrible rituals. The second one was entitled The Thing in the Moonlight and was published in January 1941. The publisher added a fabricated beginning and ending to it, in which Lovecraft, unable to free himself from the nightmare, mentally contacts a stranger. Other publishers later reprinted the story, unaware that some of the text was not authentic. It is this dream that we present here, in its original form, without any additions.
With a rugged cliff of lichen-crusted stone rising to the north.
Hold on. You never know where you're gonna find them. What is that? What is that? Oh, hold on. Donald Wandre. Donald Wandre, I feel like I'm saying his name wrong, and I apologize if I am. The recipient of the letter containing the story presented here had a significant impact on the career of the writer from Providence. One of Lovecraft's most famous stories, The Call of Cthulhu, was initially rejected by the publisher of Weird Tales magazine. Wandre visited his office and made a small provocation during the conversation, suggesting that Lovecraft was looking for other magazines to expand his audience after this visit. The nervous publisher decided to accept the story and then published it in 1928. Just like Lovecraft, Wandre was interested in poetry. Among others, he created the Sonnets of the Midnight Hours, a series of which inspired the creator Dagon to write the famous sonnets Fungi from Yugoth. But his greatest merit was co-founding the Arkham House, publishing house with August Derleth, which published Lovecraft's works after the writer's death, contributing greatly to his current popularity. Well, it's really nice. He's like, my bro can write, and people are gonna learn his stories. Is that a scythe? What? What is that? Okay, so we got a scythe, we got a chair, and something. This does not look like a farmer's scythe.
Impelled by some obscure quest, I ascended a rift, or cleft, in this beetling precipice.
Make sure there's no symbols.
Noting as I did so the black mouths of many fearsome burrows extending from both walls into the depths of the stony plateau.
Ugh. Oh, thank you, game. The author's voice. The protagonist whose fate you follow is Lovecraft himself. After all, it is an account of his dream. That's why we wanted to reproduce his way of speaking and accent as faithfully as possible. Unfortunately, no recordings of his voice have survived. That's why we had to rely only on descriptions from numerous letters. Friends remember his voice as high-pitched, thin, and flat. However, it changed while reading or reciting. As the writer's wife, Sonia Green, recalls, his voice then became stronger, clear, and deeply resonant. Lovecraft spoke with a New England accent, which, as the writer himself mentions, was characterized by the following. We don't sound any final R in words like car, far, and C. Phonetically, our common pronunciation is indistinguishable from ka and fa. Selected letters, 3.42. So he doesn't say car, he says ka. That's so cool! In his youth, Lovecraft tested his singing skills and even recorded some of his rehearsals. My mother actually liked the results. I don't think I could do New England accents. I'm not going to try. Mothers are not always unbiased critics, but I saw to it that an accident soon removed the incriminating evidence. Later, I tried something less ambitious. This was a better success, but reminded me so much of the way of a dying fox terrier that I very carelessly happened to drop it, the record, soon after it was made. I have since confined my artistic talents to literature. H.P. Lovecraft to Morris W. Moe, 15 May, 1918. We don't pronounce our R's, it's just ka and fa. I love that. Accents. So fun.
At several points, the passage was roofed over by the choking of the upper parts of the narrow fissure. These places being exceedingly dark and forbidding the perception of such burrows as may have existed there. In one such dark space, I felt conscious of a singular accession of fright. As if some subtle and bodiless emanation from the abyss were engulfing my spirit. But the blackness was too great for me to perceive the source of my alarm.
Okay, I don't see any. That's a trippy dream.
At length, I emerged upon a tableland of moss-grown rock and scanty soil,
Where's my moss?
lit up by a faint moonlight which had replaced the expiring orb of day.
I guess there's my moss.
Casting my eyes about, I beheld no living object, but was sensible of a very peculiar stirring far below me amongst the whispering rushes of the pestilential swamp I had lately quitted.
Oh. I feel like this would be the perfect place to have another clue. Another fun trivia. No? Okay. Dreamlands. Dreams have often been an inspiration for Lovecraft. Dagon is a good example. Moreover, the writer often set the action of his stories in the dreamland, a separate world filled with unique places, creatures, and legends. This informal dream cycle includes stories written between 1918 and 1932, such as The Cats of Ulthra, The Doom That Came to Sarnath, Polaris, and The Silver Key. They showed a slightly different side of the author of Call of Cthulhu and inspirations with the work of Lord Dunsany. The protagonist associated with the Dreamlands is Rodolphe Carter, known from, among others, one of Lovecraft's longest stories, The Dream Quest of Unknown Kadeth. It tells the story of Carter's journey through amazing lands in search of a wonderful city that appeared to him in his dreams. Oh? It's pretty.
After walking for some distance, I encountered the rusty tracks of a street railway and the worm-eaten poles which still held the limp and sagging trolley wire.
Interesting. Borrowed concepts. Lovecraft believed that authors could make their stories more credible by exchanging ideas and drawing from each other's works. The best example is the famous invented book Necronomicon, which also appeared in the works of his friends such as Robert Bloch, later creator of Psycho, and Robert E. Howard, creator of Conan the Barbarian. Its presence in the works of various other writers have even led to the mythologization of the Necronomicon and the appearance of references to the book in countless novels, films, and other works of pop culture. Lovecraft himself also used elements of other people's works, such as the books. Oh my goodness, ein Moment. Unaussprechlichen Gluten. Nameless Cults by Robert E. Howard, and De Vermis Mysterious, Mysteries of the Worm by Robert Bloch. Hastur, a creature borrowed from Robert W. Chambers, author of The King in Yellow, good story, who was inspired by Ambrose Bierce. He also used his land of Carcosa, which later appeared in the TV series True Detective. Sathagurua, I think I said that right, a creature invented by Clark A. Smith. Lovecraft slightly changed his appearance and included it in his stories. We wanted to follow this tradition, so we included objects from 3 other games created by our friends. I wonder if you'll be able to recognize them. Aww. Interesting mask. So I wonder if the hat maybe had something to do with it. I guess we're gonna follow the rail track. Yo, Bessel's making biscuits.
Following this line, I soon came upon a yellow vestibuled car numbered 1852 of a plain, double-trucked type common from 1900 to 1910. It was untenanted, but evidently ready to start.
All I can think of is Choo Choo Charles now. Railway. The railway has always fascinated people. The mighty power of machines, the freedom to travel vast distances, the romanticization of almost unrestricted exploration, thousands of strangers passing each other every day. But also the desolate train stations, dreamlike journeys through the night, fatal accidents, and dangerous strangers. No wonder that this topic attracted horror and fantasy writers, from Charles Dickens' The Signal Man, through Robert Bloch's award-winning That Hellbound Train to Clive Barker's The Midnight Meat Train. Midnight Meat Train. Oh, that was such a good story. It's also impossible not to mention the most important Polish weird fiction writer, Stefan Grabenski, whose most famous collection of stories, The Motion Demon, is dedicated to the railway. You'll be able to get acquainted with his work through our next game. And by the way, the steam locomotive was first used to transport passengers in 1825. I wonder if it has anything to do with the number dreamed by Lovecraft. Oh.
The trolley being on the wire and the air brake pump now and then throbbing beneath the floor.
It's a cute little trolley.
I boarded it and looked vainly about for the light switch.
Sorry. I was like, you know what I'm doing.
Noting as I did so the absence of controller handle, which implied the brief absence of the motorman. Then I sat down in one of the cross seats toward the middle, awaiting the arrival of the crew and starting of the vehicle.
Making sure. I was like, at this point, you know what I'm doing. I'm looking for more fun trivia. See? Not visible. Visible. The visit. In 1927, Donald Wandrei hitchhiked from Minnesota to Rhode Island to visit Lovecraft, sometimes having to spend the night outdoors during the trip. Over the course of more than 2 weeks, Lovecraft showed the guests around the most interesting places in his hometown of Providence and the surrounding area. They also went, among others, to Boston, where the writer wanted to show his friend the house, which partly inspired the story Pickman's Model. Unfortunately, it turned out that it had been demolished. However, the truly chilling, literally, event occurred later when another of Lovecraft's friends, James F. Warren, arrived. The three of them went to a store in Warren where they took part in an ice cream eating contest. Each of them tried as many as 28 types, and Lovecraft himself admitted that he ate about 2.5 liters of this delicacy. A statement describing their feat was framed and hung on the wall of the store. Can you imagine Lovecraft, his friends, and like another group of his friends meet up and they're like, yo, challenge you to an ice cream eating contest. And they're like, oh, I know the best place. And then they like go and they're like, you, sir, I have a hankering for ice cream. Me and my friends, load us up. I think that's great. That's amazing.
Presently, I heard a swishing in the sparse grass toward the left and saw the dark forms of 2 men looming up in the moonlight. They had the regulation caps of a railway company, and I could not doubt but that they were the conductor and motorman. Then one of them sniffed with singular sharpness and raised his face to howl at the moon. The other dropped on all fours to run toward the car.
Oh no.
I leapt up and at once raced madly out of that car.
Hold on. Don't let the spooky music get you. All right, now we can go. I was like, don't let the game get you.
And away across endless leagues of plateau till exhaustion waked me.
Yeah, I was like, that tree looks suspicious, but I guess that's not it. No? Usually there's something after like the first 2 or 3. Okay.
Doing this not because the conductor had dropped on all fours, but because the face of the motorman was a mere white cone, tapering to one blood-red tentacle.
Oh. Inspirations. A man with a tentacle covering his face is a strong and disturbing motif. You may recognize this image as this is how Nyarlathotep, I said that wrong. Yarlathotep, a mysterious powerful creature appearing in Lovecraft stories, was portrayed in the role-playing game Call of Cthulhu. A creature with a bloody tentacle howling at the moon became the most frequently depicted form of Yarlathotep, although this is not how Lovecraft described it. The presented story also became the inspiration for the erotic macabre novel Trolley Number 1852 by Edward Lee. Its hero is Lovecraft himself. He accepts the commission to write a specific type of story combining horror and sensual themes, which features the titular trolley and its terrifying motorman. Yeah, that'd be terrifying if I saw that howl. I'd be like, I don't know what's going on. I'm gonna go. Bro, what a dream. And there you go. Thank you for playing. We hope you enjoy this little journey into the world of Lovecraft's nightmares. We'd appreciate if you took a moment to leave feedback and check out the other games and DLCs. Yay! And also just a reminder that the third DLC is just like bonuses, like art books, ebooks, wallpapers. So no worries there. But yeah. Oh, yeah, I knew it was short, but I didn't think it was that short. But you know what that means? It's time for another game. It's time for another game. So we will be right back.